The Chris Webber reference, just to unpack that for a second. Maybe you guys remember this. I know I had this conversation in my own circles, in my own private circles, but the James Harden deal before it went down, it reminded me in a way of the Chris Webber deal, getting a guy who was a star, but after the star's prime. And I know and I knew that we were going to be getting James Harden post-prime. And I knew that this was going to be diminishing returns on your investment. It wasn't going to be, anything that was going to be worthwhile in a couple years. Certainly not one that I would sign a long-term deal to. And what I have seen so far from James Harden is somebody that's a lot farther away from that star line than I thought he was. So in the question of would you give James Harden that huge contract at the end of this year? No. I don't mind having James Harden on this team as long as James Harden is aware that he's not that star guy anymore and aware that he knows he needs to have that other guy on the court and not just Joel Embiid. If you're able to, and Tobias Harris has played great in the playoffs. He's played phenomenal defense. He's been one of your most consistent players. Certainly not in scoring. I'm not just talking about scoring, but just overall, you've been getting pretty consistent play from Tobias Harris, especially on the defensive end. He obviously was your leading scorer with 27 points in game 1 of this series against the Heat, which is great. But if you're telling me you can get Bradley Beal on this team, I'll tell you this much. Tobias Harris has worked himself in more to stay here, whereas James Harden has worked his way more to leave here. And here's what would shock me. Daryl Morey making the trade for James Harden, then moving on from James Harden almost immediately. That would shock me. But it doesn't look like James Harden is the guy that is at all worth what the Sixers could be paying him next year if he opts into his deal, and then the contract extension after that, which is well over $200 million. No thanks. Not happening. You guys can be best friends all you want. You can hug while you're walking off of planes as often as you want. You can't give James Harden a contract that can be that fat. No thanks. Not happening. Please, dear Lord, no.